What's up, guys? Back tonight with another episode of this new albums chat series that I started up a couple weeks ago. And yeah, the first one, I had a pretty good time, making it just a relaxing experience, and compared to the first videos I was making, which were more like album reviews, I feel like this gives me a lot more space to just relax and say things that I wouldn't say in the scope of a review, and just talk more about random things and just ramble on a little bit more. So and I wanted to make ASMR videos anyway, so I feel like this is a pretty good compromise here from what I originally started with. So just keep doing this, see how it goes. So I've been listening to quite a lot, but for this video it's just going to be focused again on 4 new releases from within the last few weeks now. Let's see. So the 4 that I wanted to take a look at today are this Tate McRae, So Close to What, Token of Appreciation by Boldy James, wanted to talk about Psalmus Mortis by Retromorphosis, and the new Killswitch Engage, This Consequence. So, yeah, where should we start? Let's start with Tate McRae. So this is a pop album. Just came out a few weeks back. Tate McRae, she's an artist I was unaware of her until her previous album came out last year. I think it was called Don't Think. But yeah, I was surprised to see she's only 21, but it looks like she's been making music for the last 6 or 7 years. So she's probably been making music since she was 14 or 13 or something. So I just thought that was interesting. I figured she was 25 to 30 range. I didn't know she was so young. But yeah, this album, I don't have a ton to say about it. I did find it pretty enjoyable. I've been listening to it on and off, over the last few weeks. She hasn't really developed a particular sound or angle with her music. It's not a certain aesthetic that you could, that she could claim as her own, or her albums so far don't really seem to have a framing device or some sort of through line that brings them together the way that a lot of recent pop singers do. Sabrina Carpenter kind of had this super sweet, airy pop, and with these small hints of country going on. And Olivia Rodrigo has very strong pop rock sound. She kind of a lot of her songs are rooted in either being these big emotional ballads or pop rock anthems. But Tate McRae, this is a totally passable, serviceable album. She kind of covers a lot of ground here, just of modern pop, R&B, trap, dance pop. The formula here is extremely basic. This album isn't really telling a story. It's not really giving you an impression of who Tate McRae is in any way. But I would say it's a pretty enjoyable collection of songs overall. I would say there's probably more hits than misses, but it's a little middling. she has a number of these like nocturnal kind of bangers, kind of darker, not really dark lyrically or thematically, but like just those kind of banging kind of club songs, just feel like some of the more sexual oriented bangers on here go over pretty well, I would say. Like Sports Car goes pretty hard. Mispossessive, that's the intro, I really like that one. There's a couple songs that are kind of elevated just beyond your standard pop fare, like Purple Lace Bra. That one kind of brings in some strings into the mix, much more definitely like a standout arrangement on an album that feels like it's just kind of playing to the basics of the genre. What the 2020s version of pop. It's this album's just kind of doing what just an indistinct pop star would do, to get on the radio or whatever. I don't want to sound like negative about it, but yeah, I thought it was. I think it's pretty good for what it is. So I am curious to see where she goes in the future. I feel like she can definitely hone in her skill as a vocalist. I'm not sure if she's really writing much of these lyrics to begin with, or like many pop stars have entire teams or songwriters basically writing for them. So I don't if she's a lyricist, then she could definitely hone that in. She could hone in her singing. It's kind of it's kind of like the music overall. Her voice is kind of indistinct. It's a little lacking in power or emphasis for most of the tracks, but it totally it goes over well enough. Some of my favorite songs are probably like Dear God, Revolving Door is a really low-key song. I wish I had more like vocabulary to describe music. Maybe I will after I talk about it for a while longer. But like Revolving Door, it's a very night drive kind of song. It's quieter. It's not a booming banging song. It's not really poppy. Like it's not like a hyper, or not. I was gonna say hyper pop. I didn't mean that. It's not exciting. It's not energetic. It's more of like a late night drive kind of pop song. But I really liked it. At first, I thought it was kind of bad. Like the way that she was singing the hook. But it kind of grew on me. I honestly like it a lot. Dear God, that's another one I like. Purple Lace Bra, Sports Car is probably the best banger on the album. I Know Love, this one was really catchy. This one sounded like it should. I don't know, there's something about this song that just feels like cheap to me, and maybe it's just because it has the Kid Laroi, and I just don't have a good impression of the Kid Laroi, so when I see him on the song, it's just kind of like an eye roll. But I really kind of like this song too. This is like a guilty pleasure kind of song for me. Like, I just, this one just goes kind of hard, even though I don't think it's actually that great of a song. It's kind of a duet between them. It's Okay, I'm Okay. It's another banger, Means I Care. That was okay. Green Light and Two Hands. I like those songs quite a bit. And then, not even going to comment on the last two songs. These are bonus tracks. Two Hands was one of my favorite songs. I think she kind of stuck the landing on the outro there. It sounds pretty appropriate as a closing track. So, but yeah, it'll be cool to see what Tate does going forward if she becomes an artist that has more personality, more more of an angle to bring to the table to draw in a listener, just beyond making a collection of catchy songs. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. Let's see. I'm doing the same thing that I did in my first video, which is like I have Spotify up on the right screen, so I keep looking beyond my microphone, but I could probably actually move it, and I don't think it'll change anything on the video. Oh, yes it will. Yes it will. Never mind. I thought I could just drag it to the other side, but I probably could, but I'm not going to mess with it right now. Okay, let's do one of the metal albums. Let's do Retromorphosis. So Retromorphosis, this is a technical death metal band, kind of formed from I was gonna say the remnants of Spawn of Possession, but this band actually is, I think, 3 out of 4 members of Spawn of Possession. I think there's only one member of that band who didn't carry over to this new album. I'm not familiar with the actual musicians and their names. I think Christopher Munzer is the guitarist in this band. And he's like a legend of technical death metal, but other than that, I really don't know the guys' names, or I'm not even sure which one didn't carry over. I feel like I read that it was the drummer, but I'm not sure. But yeah, this is Psalmus, Mortis, and so this is yeah, this is a technical death metal album that almost kind of sounds like at least the artistically and thematically and lyrically, like this album sounds like it's trying to like harken back to like old school death metal, while being very much a new school tech death band, like in the vein of Necrophagist. Like I feel like there was technical death metal before Necrophagist, and then there was Necrophagist, and most technical death after that sounds like Necrophagist. You know, you started out with like Atheist and Pestilence, and Cynic and Suffocation. You know, all those bands could be considered technical death metal, but then there was the modern version, which is like Necrophagist and onward. So this album is still very much in that Necrophagist style, as was Spawn of Possession. But it feels like in a lot of ways, like a lot of like the smaller touches of this album are like trying to harken back to like old school death metal, and like and maybe even just like the campiness of you know, older horror movies. You know, like I haven't read through all the lyrics on the album, so I'm honestly not even sure what it's about. But from the glimpses I've gotten into the album, it's you know, it's like it's a horror themed album, but it feels very much like you're, you know, like it just comes across campy to me from what I'm, you know, just the feeling I'm getting from the artwork and the song topics and some of the lyrics. You know, so this is an extremely tight album. I think it's 42 minutes, right? And this is honestly insane music. Like, if you haven't listened to technical death metal, I mean, you know, if you'd never heard anything like this, you'd probably be, you know, you'd probably have a tough time with this. This would be pretty challenging. It's pretty challenging for me. But if you haven't listened to technical death metal, this is, you know, definitely not for a beginner of you know, harsh or extreme music. But yeah, this album is extremely tight. So it has the absolute insanity and virtuosic playing that you would expect from Spawn of Possession, because it is them. But it's very condensed, it's contained. Like, these songs most of them are like, let's see, yeah, most of them are around like 5 minutes. And these songs are so densely packed, it's crazy. Like, I listened to this album, I didn't listen to it like, I was going to say I listened to it so many times. I probably listened to it like 6 times. And honestly, I haven't taken it all in. it's definitely like it's a lot to peel back. It's just blazing fast, virtuosic playing, crazy drumming. Um, these songs are so tightly crafted. Um, this actually reminds me a lot of. There was a Job for a Cowboy album that came out last year. I can't remember that. Oh, Moon Healer, I think it was called. This kind of reminds me of that, where both of these albums were pretty trim. They're pretty. I was gonna say scant. I guess they're not scant. I mean, they're long enough. They're full lengths, um, but I felt like with that album, I felt kind of similarly to this, where the songs are so dense and difficult for me to take in. Like, I feel like this is an album that is good to great, might even be amazing, but it's probably just not an album for me. And that's how I felt about The Job for a Cowboy. I really wanted to enjoy that more than I did, but it felt like I just kept listening to the album, and it just felt like I could just not follow these, just winding compositions. Like I don't know what it is about these kind of albums, but when an album is so densely packed with the highest level, technical playing like this, it can really be a daunting task. It's definitely challenging. Um, just from like a songwriting aspect for me. I really appreciated Machine. That one was 9 minutes. I felt like that song really had enough time to breathe. That was probably my favorite song in the album, just because it had that time to really pan out into a longer runtime. Take that explosion, or take that small scale explosion of sound and broaden it out a little bit. Give it some room to grow and develop. But yeah, this is definitely a banger. Like I said, this I feel like I might just be unqualified to really give much of an opinion on this, because it's not something that really resonates with me. I think when I would much rather go back to like Spawn of Possessions and Curso album. That was a little bit more my speed. But at the same time, it's like I would definitely acknowledge that this might be an amazing album. I definitely don't think that it's lacking really in any respect, but it is very challenging. Oh, I was going to say that the one thing about the album that the only thing really that was a criticism I had, was that the vocals are extremely monotonous. Like, they're totally, it's just like a kind of guttural, heavy, loud, just strongly projected vocal style. It gets old. It's very, I actually just wish there was less vocals. Like, the vocals are totally fine, but like, I feel like they were the least interesting part of this album. It's like there's so many words, and they're just being like spit out at you. It's not like a gurgling or a guttural sound that just kind of fades into the music. It's very much at the forefront, and it's like just constantly like a constant like loud projecting, brutal vocal. And like, I didn't have any issue really with the vocal itself. I just wish it was a little bit more dynamic, or that there was less of it, or like, I feel like even a vocal that was more just low end, just kind of hanging in the background, I would have even preferred. Just to give the music itself a little bit more space to just take the spotlight. Oh, and then the other thing I wanted to mention was this album has a lot of like old school sounding synth work. I feel like it really accentuates the atmosphere on some of the songs, and that's actually, when I mentioned that campy vibe earlier, the campy horror vibe, there's a lot of these like old school synths. I'm not sure how you would describe them, but they feel very much like creepy horror kind of synths, but it's not horror like it's going to scare you. It's like it's like, it's like cute horror stuff. It's like, Halloween type stuff, like, uh, more fun. It's not, this album is not going to scare you or, intimidate you in any way. It feels very much like it's just a fun time and kind of a callback, I think, just to some old school horror centric ideas. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Let me know if anyone's watching this. Let me know what you think of Retromorphosis. This is just one of those albums I'm just like not confident really giving it an opinion one way or the other. Okay, let's do Killswitch Engage. So this is the new Killswitch Engage, this Consequence. Killswitch Engage is a metalcore band. Probably one of the biggest of all time, I think. Sucking down some water. So, Killswitch Engage. They've released many albums over the years. They had their original vocalist Jesse Leach. He was on the first couple albums. Then Howard Jones was the vocalist, probably during their most successful, probably commercially, their most successful era, and just general popularity. I think that was during the 2000s. Excuse me. Between the end of Heartache and the second self-titled, which I have no idea why a band would make two self-titled albums. But yeah, and then Howard Jones left the band after that second self-titled album, and Jesse Leach has been back in the band. I think this is his fourth. Yeah, I think this is his fourth one back. So this one really grew on me. When I first heard this album, I was really just not feeling it. It was kind of in one ear and out the other. When I first put this on, I was just like, it sounds just like Killswitch by the numbers. I just wasn't feeling it. But the more I listened to this, the more after I got to my second and third listen, I was like, oh, okay, I'm really vibing with this. I'm enjoying this. So yeah, Killswitch is doing their thing here. They're giving you a pretty trim track list again, like the last album. 35 minutes. So this is nice and short. Really doesn't overstay its welcome, which I think is better than them. I'd rather them do this than make an album that's an hour long. But Killswitch kind of they've they always stick to their songwriting formula, which is just melodic death metal style riffs and verses and usually a sung, very melodic, catchy hook. And every so often you'll get a guitar solo. I think there's actually 4 or 5 on this album, which that might be, I don't know. I haven't listened to Killswitch's stuff. I don't think I've really listened to Incarnate or Atonement much at all. But I was going to say, I think this might be the most guitar solos I can remember hearing in a Killswitch album. Because in those Howard Jones era albums, they would have one guitar solo on the entire album, each of them. One or two, very few. But yeah, I think this is Killswitch still just operating at a pretty strong level. I think these songs are really catchy. I would say that the weakest thing about Killswitch is just like, just it's very formulaic, and lyrically they leave a lot to be desired. I mean, a lot of Jesse's lyrics are just really, I don't want to say they're uninspired because he seems like a guy who gets inspired to write, but like they're just like tropes and cliches and like stuff that's just way too on the nose and like heavy-handed. Like I'm not trying to hear a song by Killswitch talking about this discordant nation, or come on, a song called Collusion. Like, oh, that's my cat knocking things around. Hopefully she doesn't make too much noise. But yeah, I don't want to hear Killswitch make a song called Collusion. It's just too on the nose, right? Even just using those words in 2025, collusion. Like, come on. Like, I don't know. There's more creative ways to talk about the state of the world and the government, and I guess maybe metalcore bands are more direct and everything, but this isn't like Rage Against the Machine or something. It's like, it's Killswitch. I don't know. But at the same time, I'm not even mad at them for it, because it's like, this is what you come to expect from Killswitch. Killswitch is not a band that's lyrically deep. They're just a band that's here to have a good time and make some really catchy songs. And I think that's what they've done really well. Like even I said I don't want to hear Killswitch talking about this discordant nation. That's what they say on the hook. But like, honestly, it was a really enjoyable song, and the hook was great. Aftermath, really enjoyed that song. Forever Aligned, like, I Believe. All these songs are just super catchy. The second half of the album, it gets a little bit more like metal. I think it's The Fall of Us that is just like one of their like probably most metal, like death metal kind of songs that they've ever done. Broken Glass was kind of like a slower, groovy, I don't know if I would call it groove metal, but it definitely had a strong groove to it. Kind of an interesting song for Killswitch to make. I actually wish that one was a little bit longer. I would have liked to see that go a little bit further than it did. But yeah, I mean, just looking over the track list, like honestly, this is an album I would return to. I just didn't see myself feeling like really enjoying a Killswitch album in 2025. But I do. I think Jesse sounds great. He's a great vocalist. I like Adam D's kind of lightly, peppered on backing vocals. This album has a lot of blast beats. I noticed. I mean, I only remember one song where Killswitch even used blast beats. I think it was The Reckoning on the second self-titled. But this album, it's got blast beats, and honestly, it was pretty satisfying just as a metal fan. And you know what I mean? I don't listen to much metalcore, so Killswitch. I'll just tell my experience with my history with Killswitch. Killswitch was actually like pretty much the first band that I ever enjoyed. Like, I didn't start listening to music until I was like 13. Neither of my parents cared about music whatsoever, so like music was almost never playing in the car. My parents, they didn't talk about artists. We didn't watch, anything music related on TV. Didn't listen to music, So when I found music, I started listening to like Metallica at first, and just random, like older rock, classic rock and stuff like that. But Killswitch was the first band that I remember hearing their songs and just like, just loving them as an artist. And I was obsessed with those Howard Jones era albums. I guess that was before even the second self-titled came out. I'm 30, so when was that? Probably like 2008, 2007 maybe. Yeah, probably like 2007 was when I got into music. So Killswitch Engage was kind of the first band that I got into, and then so part of this experience of checking out this album um, was like it kind of brought me back to, I was listening to this, and all the while I kept going back and queuing up songs from older Killswitch albums, like from Alive or Just Breathing, from the Howard Jones stuff, even Disarm the Descent, songs that I remember from those eras, and like kind of just reminded me why I love this band. Like, even in this genre of music that I'm not really a fan of, I just feel like Killswitch is such an enjoyable band. Killswitch is one of those bands that could just keep making the same album, and I guess I'll just be a fan of it. I'm yeah, I had a great time listening to this album, and like I said, just going back and putting on The End of Heartache, As Daylight Dies, Alive or Just Breathing, even the second self-titled. Again, like, I feel like that's one of the weaker Killswitch albums, but I still love like half the songs on it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Killswitch is not like an amazing band in my opinion or anything, but they're definitely one that I like them. I enjoy their drive. I think that what they do very well. Like Adam D, I saw his interview with Garza podcast. That guy from Suicide Silence. He has his own podcast. If you haven't seen it, he just interviews a lot of metal figures. So that was a cool interview. But yeah, really enjoyed this, and I would actually, I'd recommend it for sure if you're into metalcore, or you're just looking for a metal album that's catchy but still gives you like those real, still gives you harshness and riffs and aggression. You know what I mean? Like, like Killswitch to me is almost like, it's almost like if you took like all that alt metal radio rock stuff and just turned it up to 11. Where you still have really catchy melodic hooks, but you have like actual, aggressive, harsh music, and it's not like to me, like new metal and hard rock type shit you hear on the radio. Like, that's not fulfilling enough to me. So Killswitch Engage gives me that, that more, true metal kind of sound to whatever extent metalcore can, but also has those immediate, catchy, enjoyable, melodic, feel good kind of hooks. So yeah, pretty cool album. I keep itching my eyes here. Don't know why. It keeps feeling like there's something getting in my eyes, but all right, let's get on to the last one. Now you'll see. In the meantime, you'll see. My recently played here. I have more albums I've been listening to recently. There's more new releases I'm gonna get to in the next video. Like Lady Gaga. This is a Havu Krunu. I think this is a Swiss black metal band. I think they're from Switzerland. I can't remember right now. What else is coming out? I know there's one or two. I think there's actually a whole slew of albums that are coming out soon. That I wanted to get into on the channel. So I wanted to get back and record this new one with these 4 tracks or 4 albums, just to clear up some space for what's going to be coming. I think there's going to be like 10 albums that I'm going to be listening to pretty soon. So yeah, definitely don't want to get bogged down here. But yeah, the last one. Boldy James, Token of Appreciation. So this is, it gets so bright. Just filling half the screen with white. It's like the sun came out. But yeah, so Boldy James, Token of Appreciation. So I already, before I even started doing this ASMR thing, I already made 2 reviews of Boldy James albums, just ones that came out this year. And there's even one that I missed between those 2 and this. There's a third one that was released. It wasn't released on streaming. I can't remember where it was uploaded to some weird website. Like, I'm pretty sure it's an official release. I can't remember the name of it right now. But he had a third album with some producer who I was unaware of. That's out there as well. So I haven't checked that out yet. But maybe I will at some point. But I'm just kind of skipping over it for now. So this is Boldy's 4th mixtape of the year. Now, I've actually basically heard this already before this released, because there was, on YouTube, there was like uploaded like a year ago, maybe even longer, there was a version of this album going around stating that it was an unreleased Boldy album produced by The Alchemist. And it was later found out that Chuck Strangers actually produced. Chuck Strangers is from Pro Era. So that's the clique that Joey Badass came up as a part of. So all those guys that were on Pro Era, like Desi Hines and Kirk Knight and CJ Fly, Nick Caution, Chuck Strangers is a rapper and producer from that group, conglomerate, posse, whatever. So yeah, Chuck Strangers. I haven't really kept up with anything Chuck Strangers has done since that amazing Pro Era mixtape in 2012, Peep the Apocalypse. Definitely recommend that majorly if you haven't heard that. That is definitely I don't want to say underrated. It was properly rated, but it is that's basically a classic mixtape. It's so 90s, and such an amazing mixtape. But highly recommend that if you haven't ever checked it out, the Pro Era mixtape. But yeah, so Chuck Strangers here, and he's not rapping, so I can't even, I don't have to compare it to what Chuck sounded like on that Pro Era mixtape, but he's here producing. I don't know if I've even heard anything that he's produced before. I probably have. But yeah, he came out at a certain point. He was like, Chuck Strangers, I think he was on Twitter, and at one point he said, oh, that was actually me who produced that unreleased Boldy James album. So yeah, this is a short one for Boldy. I mean, I guess he has a decent amount of short ones. 32 minutes. I know that there was originally, I think, 2 features on this album. I think, what's his name? I think Maxo Cream was one of them. And I can't remember who the other one was. Someone else was on this originally, I think. I can't even remember what songs they were on. Because I barely listened to, I actually have the original version of this on my phone, but I barely listened to it because I thought that it would release one day in a finished form, and I didn't want to spoil myself too much. So I played it through one time, maybe it was twice, and then I just haven't touched it since. But yeah, I mean, Boldy, he started off the year by releasing some of his weakest projects, and this is a turn back in the right direction. Now, the thing that worries me a little bit is that this was recorded, I think, at least a couple of years ago. So the greatness of this, I do worry. I hope that this is not the most great thing that we hear from Boldy this year. I hope he hasn't kind of passed. I hope he's not on a downturn as a rapper and lyricist, from when this was recorded. But it kind of feels like he might be on a downward trajectory. I just kind of hope not. I feel like Boldy is great enough that he can kind of course correct. But we'll just need to see what he does, on whatever projects he releases next. But yeah, this one is great. Definitely slots in there with some of those great albums he was making, between 2020 and 22. Definitely fits in there. Boldy, this album, it's not drumless, I don't think, but it's much more. It's very tasteful, more sample based, very primarily unaltered samples, I think. Mostly samples that are taken just from their source and just, you know, only adjusted to small degrees. Kind of like the Nicholas Craven style is what this reminds me of. So just a lot of loops. Even some of the stuff on here reminds me of like instrumentals that you would hear like Ka rapping on. Yeah, it's very like soul sample type stuff, very ethereal, kind of like I don't know, psychedelic might be the word on some of these beats, but they're very much like just really Boldy doing what he does best, just getting on those classic samples. Or when I say classic, I just mean those vintage, antique sounding samples, and just rapping over primarily, drumless, or beats where maybe they're not necessarily drumless, but they're nearly drumless. Like the effect of the drum is not what it would be in any modern incarnation of hip hop. Or the drum only exists as part of the original sample, which it was derived from to begin with. But yeah, what stands out about this album, Boldy, like just on the intro track, it's this incredibly slow, kind of mystical beat. It's kind of like I think it's like just like a guitar. I don't even know. Is it a guitar? Is it a synth? I don't know what it is. It's very spacious and slow. This one does have some drums, but very slow beat just gives Boldy so much room to work with. He has a few intros like this. I feel like this might be the best one of the really slow intros on an album that he has. But he just gets into this sick, like, multi-syllabic, like 3-syllable rhyme scheme. Like, excuse me. He has like all throughout the song, he's like always rhyming like 3 syllables at the end of like every phrase, and he keeps it up like the entire time. It's like it sounds almost like a better version of those songs that Drake does, like when Drake makes those whack ass like Asian songs, like where I took you to the destination, we've had fornication and procreation. Like Drake has songs where he just ends every phrase with like just a nation, Haitian bars, like, or just it could be other words that have a different type of rhyme, but like this is like Boldy doing that, but doing it like to the level of like someone who's actually good at that. I just had to take a moment there to hate on Drake a little bit, but that's what it reminded me of. Like, I know Drake did the Irish freestyle thing, Fighting Irish or whatever. Like Boldy is doing something that's similar to that, but with so much more finesse and skill. And like, it's like, yeah, this is what a real rapper sounds like, who's just doing this, continuous, multi-syllable rhyming thing. So I thought it was pretty damn good. That set the tone right there. Just love the intro. Whale Fishing, that was one of my less favorite songs. That one doesn't really do much. Just kind of a pretty basic, I think that one's like an orchestral sample. It's hard, like, even though I've listened to this like 10 times, it's like sometimes hard in the moment to remember. It's like I can even remember the lyrics and different things about the song, but it's like, sometimes, like, if you don't take notes, it's like it's hard to remember exactly. Or even if I did take notes, I'd probably wouldn't be able to piece together in my head everything that I want to say about these songs. It's like like right now I can't remember exactly what the instrumentals of Whale Fishing sounds like, but I remember my feelings about whale fishing every time I hear it, which is that it's a fine track, but it's kind of just got basic sample and loop, and Boldy's just kind of doing his thing over it. It's definitely not bad. My favorite song, and probably one of my favorite songs of the year, is Big Paws on a Puppy. This one just goes hard. Boldy's just talking about talking about being on some street shit since he was a kid, just slinging and being on the corner, you know, keeping his pole with him, you know, like, you know, just absolutely love the sample on this one, and the hook and the flow, just cold-blooded. Yeah, this is instantly one of those like Boldy songs that would go right in my, you know, top Boldy playlist. Which at this point, if I did a playlist of my top Boldy songs, it would be like huge. Yeah, Unapologetic. This one's really another really slow one, but you know, kind of just toying with this concept of being unapologetic. Lopsided, that one, this instrumental is a little more novel and fun, kind of a, yeah, I think this was kind of the, what induced my, me saying that the album was kind of, like psychedelic, was almost like due to moments like this, like the lopsided instrumental. Really like that one. Global Telling. I don't know if is Global Telling like some sort of like, is that the name of a telephone service when you're in prison? That's what it sounds like from the lyrics of the song. So I enjoyed the hook on that, and the lyrics of the song. It sounded like he's talking about someone being in prison, you know, trying to avoid prison. And if he was in prison, you know, he'd be, you know, if you're stuck in prison, it sounds like he's saying that you'd be talking to people over global telling. I don't know, is that the name of a prison phone system or something? Yeah, I know JPay, but yeah, I don't know anything about prison, so what can I say? But that the lyrics, the context of the song made me think that is a telephone service. So, you know, let me know. Thank God, really like this one. Thank God that was the primary one I was thinking when I said that this kind of sounded like Ka. Like, that sounded exactly like that instrumental, and the way that Boldy was using it kind of as a reference point throughout the song. That just really reminded me of something that Ka would have even had just on his most recent album before he passed away. UPS, this is the only one that goes for kind of like a lightly, I want to say, it's just a very light, you know, trap sound on this one. It's nothing too, you know, it's not too much. It's not like Boldy going trap. It's kind of just like a light, you know, it's a tasteful inclusion of some trap oriented stuff on here. Failproof was cool. Failproof was almost like something I would picture like Conway or West Side on. It was very hazy, musty, you know, like dusty, musty, just like piano instrumental, just like a piano loop. But it sounded like it, you know, sounded like it was dug up from 100 years ago. That was cool. Third Little Piggy, really enjoyed that. And Bird's Eye View, you know, the album just ends on kind of like a more reflective, contemplative note. But yeah, what separates this from many of the most recent Boldy albums? I just feel like he sounds more interested in the songwriting here. The lyrics feel definitely a cut above. Boldy has been really phoning it in lately on his recent projects. But here it feels like he, you know, it feels like he, you know, the greatness of Boldy as a writer is still coming out in this project, even though this feels like lower stakes. This isn't like a concept album. This isn't, you know, one of the best Boldy projects, but, you know, it's up there with some of his better stuff. But, you know, it's not like on the level of like the Alchemist albums or Major on McNichols. But I'd say it's probably as good as, you know, his best one before this, I would say, was the Conductor album last year. I'd say this is kind of on the level of that. You know, so really like to see this kind of course correction from the first two albums of the year. You know, and I know Boldy is probably honestly going to release like 5 more albums this year, like that, like maybe even more than that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what he does next, but I am a little nervous that, you know, that this moment of greatness is going to be a flash in the pan, because it was something that was recorded a couple of years ago. So, hoping Boldy breaks the cycle of somewhat less impressive and more stagnant output that he's been on lately. So if you've kept up with me this long, I'm just, if you're wondering why I'm rambling and repeating myself and just saying so much silly, unimportant stuff during the video, I mean, part of the reason I'm doing this is just to make longer, rambling kind of ASMR videos. This is the type of stuff that I enjoy watching. I routinely listen to, hour-plus long ASMR videos of people just talking about random stuff. So, that's the point of these videos. These videos are trying to be in that vein. So, I'm not trying to waste anyone's time. If you're looking for anything more concise, this is I'm kind of making this for my own enjoyment and for people who also enjoy ASMR content of this flavor. So, if you're into it, I'm probably gonna keep making a video like this, once every week or two, and just see where it goes. I'm just sitting here with my blanket on. Got my Scooby-Doo blanket over me. I'm just sitting back in my chair, got my feet up on a footrest under my desk. So I've just been, just hanging out the whole time, feeling relaxed. And honestly, it's just kind of a therapeutic thing to go through all this, do all this talking, and it's probably just gonna help me decompress a little bit, So hopefully, if you're watching this, hopefully you're getting a little bit of that same effect. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Let's just do a preview of what's to come. We got the Havu Krunu, Tavastland, got Mayhem by Lady Gaga. I'm trying to remember what's coming out. I know there's multiple things coming out. Oh, Deaf Heaven is dropping soon. Well, there's at least 3 that are coming up, but I know that there's like 5 or 6 albums that are coming out imminently that I'm just like, you know how it is, brain. But yeah, other than that, just been listening to death metal, like Immolation. Just got into this band for the first time. Some amazing stuff from them. Atheist, been a fan of them for a long time. This was El Camino's most recent album. Probably not going to review that. Don't really have much to say about it, but some good tracks. But yeah, you'll see my recently played doesn't update too much. You can even see on my recently played stuff that I was listening to that was there the last video I made, which is 2 weeks ago. But that's just because I try to keep things that I want to talk about for the most part in my recently played. So most of the music that I'm listening to on a daily basis, I usually just add to the queue. If you add your music to the queue on Spotify, it doesn't populate that recently played row, unless if you save the album, or if you add it to your, if you save it or add it to a playlist, something like that, then it'll show up on recently played. But if you just take anything you're listening to, I usually just listen to albums. I just click the 3 dots, add to queue, and and then it kind of keeps my recently played clean, so I don't lose sight of what the albums that I'm trying to focus on, for making these videos, and just for I also use Sputnik Music, so albums that I'm just listening to that I'm trying to formulate my opinion on for just putting in just putting a rating on my Sputnik profile. So yeah. But yeah, we got about 54 minutes out of that, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, just let me know what's up if you're watching this, and I'll be back on the next one. Thanks, everyone. Good night.